You've spent your entire life hearing that you need to seek something outside of yourself. You were told that salvation is in a temple, that truth is in a book, that truth is in a book, that truth is in a doctrine, in an institution, in a ceremony, in a future promise.
You learned to search far away.
To wait for a distant miracle, to bow before altars built by human hands, and believe that there, in that sacred place, you would find what you seek so much. But what if all of that was just a veil? What if the deepest answer had already been spoken 2,000 years ago, and you simply didn't hear it, not because it wasn't there, but because it was silenced, erased, ignored, buried under layers of interpretation, control, and fear? There is a phrase, a single phrase, spoken by the one you call master, prophet, light. And that phrase was so powerful, so dangerous, so revolutionary, that it had to be hidden, not destroyed, that would be too obvious, but diluted, transformed into a harmless metaphor, repeated without being understood, heard without being felt. You know it, but you've never understood it. Until now. Take a deep breath. Feel the weight of this moment, because what you are about to remember is not new information. It is an ancient memory, something your soul already knew, but your mind forgot. Something that was taken from you, not by absence, but by distortion. You were taught to look outside, because if you looked inside, you would find it. And if you found it, you would no longer need intermediaries. You would no longer need hierarchies. You would no longer need promises that are never kept, salvations that never arrive, doors that never open. You would be free. And true freedom frightens those who have built empires on the dependence of others. That's why the phrase was ignored. Not erased from the texts, that would leave traces, but emptied of its meaning, transformed into an enigma, into a distant parable, into something you read, but don't feel, something you repeat, but don't live, because living this phrase would be the end of all external search. It would be the end of all authority that places itself between you and the divine. It would be the return, the awakening, the remembering, the awakening, the remembering. The phrase is this: the kingdom of God is within you. You've heard this before. Maybe you've read it. Maybe you've heard it in a sermon, in a class, in a conversation. But have you really heard it? Or did you just let the words slip across the surface of your mind, like water over polished stone? Because if you had really heard it, everything would have changed. Your search would have ended. Your journey would have reversed. You would have stopped searching outside and started diving inside. But that's not what happened. They said within you was a metaphor, that it meant among you, as a community, that the kingdom was something collective, external, institutional. That you needed to belong to a group, follow a code, obey a structure to reach it. They said it was future, that it would come after death, that you needed to wait, suffer, purify yourself, deserve it, that the kingdom was kept in another plane, in another dimension, in another time. Never now, never here, never in you. And so, the most revolutionary phrase ever spoken by a spiritual master was domesticated, transformed into a distant promise, into a conditional reward, into something you cannot touch, cannot feel, cannot be, because if you could, if you knew that the kingdom is already in you, that the light already dwells in you, that divinity already pulsates in you, then no external authority would have power over your soul. No institution could sell what you already possess. No doctrine could imprison what is already free within you. That's why the phrase was ignored, not by accident, but by necessity, because the power it carries is absolute, and absolute power in the hands of each individual destroys all spiritual hierarchy, destroys all intermediation between you and the sacred, destroys the idea that you need someone to translate God for you. You don't. You never did. You just forgot. Now breathe again, more slowly this time. Feel the air entering your nostrils. Feel the air going down your throat. Feel the air filling your lungs. Feel the air sustaining your life in this very instant. This breath, this simply invisibly constant breath, is the kingdom, not a part of it, not a symbol of it, but it itself, because the kingdom is not a place, it is not a concept, it is not a future reward. The kingdom is presence, it is consciousness, it is the state of being fully alive, fully awake, fully here. And where is that state? Where can it be, if not in you? You don't need to build the kingdom, it's already built. You don't need to reach it, it's already built. You don't need to reach it, it's already reached. You don't need to deserve it, it's already yours. From the first breath, from the first heartbeat, from the moment life became conscious through you. But you were taught, being made to doubt it. You are sinful, that you are imperfect, that you are sinful, that you are imperfect, 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 that you are unworthy, that you need external purification, divine approval, institutional forgiveness. You've been taught that divine is outside, above, distant, that you are small and God is great, that you are shadow and God is light, that you are separate, and this separation, this fundamental lie, is the root of all spiritual suffering, because the truth is the opacity. The truth is the opacity. The truth is that you have never been separate. The truth is that you have never been separate. The truth is that the same consciousness that created the universe dwells within you, not as a visitor, not as a guest, but as essence, as nature, as ultimate identity. You don't have a kingdom within you. You are the kingdom. You do not contain the divine. You are the divine, having forgotten yourself. And Jesus knew this. He knew, and he said so, but what he said was too dangerous to be preserved in its purity. So it was reinterpreted, it was softened, it was transformed into controllable doctrine, but the words are still there, in the texts, in the subtext, waiting to be remembered. The kingdom of God is within you, not partially, not symbolically, but literally, completely. Now, you are not seeking something lost, you are remembering something forgotten. And there is a colossal difference between seeking and remembering. Seeking implies absence. Remembering implies veiled presence. Seeking takes you away. Remembering brings you back. Seeking keeps you in perpetual motion. Remembering anchors you in what already is. So, stop seeking for a moment. Just a moment. Stop looking for answers in books, in masters, in ceremonies, in promises. Stop looking to the sky, expecting something to come down. Stop looking to the future, expecting something to arrive, and turn inward, not as an exercise, not as a technique, but as a return, as a recognition, as a remembrance. Close your eyes. Now, do not continue reading. Close your eyes and breathe. Feel the silence within you, not the silence of the absence of sound, but the silence of pure presence, the silence that exists before thought, the silence that witnesses all your thoughts, but is none of them, the silence that observes all your emotions, but is none of them, the silence that experiences all your life, but remains untouched by it. This silence is the kingdom. This silence is you, the true you, not the person you think you are, not the story you tell about yourself, not the memories, the traumas, the desires, the fears, but the consciousness that witnesses all of it, the consciousness that is all of it, the consciousness that is all of it's here, always present, always whole, always free. You may not feel it immediately. There may be resistance, there may be doubt, there may be the incessant noise of the mind, saying this is nonsense, this doesn't work, this is not for me, and that's okay, because that noise is also within the kingdom. It is also witnessed. It is also witnessed. The kingdom excludes nothing. It rejects nothing. It judges nothing. It simply is. And you, at your deepest core, are it. But you have been conditioned to forget. You have been conditioned to identify with the noise, not with the silence, with the wave, not with the ocean, with the form, not with the essence. And this conditioning is deep. It is rooted in centuries of religious teaching that placed the divine outside of you, that placed salvation in the hands of others, that placed salvation in the hands of others, that placed spiritual power in institutions, in rituals, in dogmas. But Jesus didn't do that. Jesus pointed inward. The kingdom of God is within you, not in the church, not in the temple, not in Jerusalem, not in Rome, within you. He said it clearly, directly, without metaphor, without beating around the bush. And what happened? They built churches, they built temples, and they put the phrase in a golden frame, on a sacred page, in a verse that everyone knows, but no one lives. Because to live this phrase would be to dismantle the entire structure. It would be to return spiritual power to each individual. It would be to end the need for intermediaries. Now those who build careers, empires, and identities upon being intermediaries could not allow that. So the phrase was ignored, repeated, but ignored, known, but not understood, read, but not lived. Until now, because you are reading this, you are feeling this, something within you is awakening. Not because these words are magical, but because they are reminding you of what you already know, of what you have always known, of what you could never not know, because it is what you are. The kingdom is not something you achieve, it is something you recognize. And the recognition doesn't come from outside, it comes from within, like an ancient memory, like a distant echo, like a light that never went out. It was only covered by layers of forgetfulness. And now, layer by layer, you are remembering, word by word, breath by breath, moment by moment. Breathe again. Feel your chest rising. Feel your chest falling, flowing. Feel life flowing through you. Not because you are doing, but because you are doing. But because it is happening. Life doesn't depend on you. You depend on life. And life, that mysterious, relentless, intelligent force, is sustaining you at this very moment. Effortlessly, without negotiation, without condition. It sustains you because you are part of it, because you are it. And if life sustains you, if consciousness inhabits you, if presence defines you, then what else do you need to seek? What else do you need to deserve? What else do you need to achieve? Everything is already here. Everything is already in. You have just forgotten to look. And when Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you, he wasn't talking about a future, he was talking about now. He wasn't talking about a reward, he was talking about a reality. It wasn't talking about something you need to conquer. It was talking about something you need to perceive. And perception doesn't require effort. It requires attention. It requires presence. It requires you to stop chasing something that was never ahead and start inhabiting something that has always been here. This isn't easy, not because it's complicated, but because it's too simple. The mind loves complexity. It loves drama. It loves the epic journey, the heroic struggle, the glorious conquest. But the kingdom isn't epic. It's silent. It's not dramatic. It's subtle. It's not conquered. It's recognized. And the mind, trained to seek, doesn't know how to recognize. Therefore, it resists. Therefore, it doubts. Therefore, it keeps looking outside, even when the answer is already inside. But you don't need to convince the mind. You need to transcend it, not destroy it, not deny it, but recognize that it is a tool, not a master. It's useful for navigating the world, but useless for recognizing the kingdom, because the kingdom isn't thought. It's felt. It's not understood. It's experienced. It's not achieved. It's inhabited, and you are already inhabiting it. You are already in 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 it. You just haven't realized it yet, because your attention is on the noise, not the silence, on the form, not the essence, on the wave, not the ocean. So return to the ocean. Close your eyes again. Breathe. Don't try to feel anything. Don't try to achieve anything. Don't try to achieve anything. Don't try to achieve anything. Just be. Just observe what is already here. The feeling of being alive. The feeling of being conscious. The feeling of being present. That is simple, obvious, undeniable feeling is the kingdom. Not a part of it, not a glimpse of it, but it itself. Because the kingdom isn't grandiose. It's not spectacular. It's not esoteric. It's ordinary. It's common. It's the most natural thing in you. So natural thing in you. So close that you didn't see. So simple that you thought it couldn't be it. But it is. It's exactly that. The presence, the consciousness, the being, the now, the here, the you without history, the you without name, the you without form, the you that exists before all identification, before all definition, before all separation. The you, the true you, is the kingdom. And Jesus tried to tell you that. He tried to show you that. He tried to awaken you to that. But you didn't listen, not because you didn't want to, but because they taught you not to listen. They taught you that the truth was somewhere else. They taught you that the truth was somewhere else. They taught you that you were too small, too unworthy, too human to contain the divine. But you're not. You never were. You are exactly what the divine is. Pure consciousness, pure presence, pure being, without beginning, without end, without limit, without separation. When you realize this, not intellectually but experientially, everything changes. Not because something new happens, but because you finally see what has always been happening. You finally see that you have never been separated, that you have never been alone, that you have never been lost. You just believed you were, and that belief created the illusion of the search, the illusion of the path, the illusion that you need to go from where you are to where the divine is. But there is no distance, there is no separation, there is no journey, there is only forgetting and remembering. And now, you are remembering, you are remembering, you are remembering that the temple is not a building, it's you. You are remembering that the altar is not a table, it's your heart. You are remembering that the light is not in the sky, it's in you, not as a metaphor, not as a symbol, but as living, pulsating, undeniable truth. And this remembrance doesn't come from outside. It doesn't come from a book, or doesn't come from a master, or doesn't come from within. Because that's where it always was. That's where it always will be. That's where it always is. The kingdom of God is within you. It wasn't, it won't be, it is, now, here, in you. And you don't need to do anything to deserve it. You don't need to purify yourself. You don't need to fast. You don't need to fast. You don't need to pray the right way, sing the right way, live the right way. You just need to perceive. You just need to look. You just need to be present with what is already present. And when you do that, when you really do that, the search ends. Not because you found it, but because you found it, but because you realized you were never lost. You realized that what you were searching for outside died. Okay, here's the English translation of Block 4 of 4, followed by culturally adapted suggestions for an English-speaking audience. Block 4 of 4 has always been within. You realize that the kingdom is not a destination. It's a state of being, a state of presence, a state of pure awareness. And this state doesn't depend on external circumstances. It doesn't depend on spiritual achievements. It doesn't depend on divine approval. It just is. And you, at your deepest core, are it. Now, open your eyes slowly. Look around. See the world with new eyes. Not the eyes of seeking, but the eyes of recognition. See that everything, every tree, every stone, every person, every breath is within the kingdom. Because the kingdom is not a separate place. It's the totality of existence seen with the eyes of presence. It's life lived with the awareness that you are not separate from it. It's the world experienced as an extension of what you are. On what you are is what everything is. Consciousness, presence, being, without boundary, without division, without separation. Jesus knew this, he lived this, and he tried to teach you this. But the message was lost, not because he failed, but because listeners built religions where he pointed to freedom, because those who came after him preferred to worship him rather than understand him. Because it's easier to put someone on a pedestal than to recognize that you are made of the same essence. But he didn't want to be worshipped. He wanted you to wake up. He wanted you to realize what he realized. He wanted you to live what he lived. And what he lived was this: the direct perception that the kingdom of God is not in any temple, in any doctrine, in any institution. The kingdom of God is within you, always has been, always will be. You just forgot, but now you are remembering, and this remembering is not the end, it's the beginning. Because now that you know, now that you feel, you can no longer live the same way. You can no longer seek outside what you have already found within. You can no longer depend on external authorities to validate your connection with the divine. You can no longer wait for someone to save you because you realized that you never needed to be saved. You have always been whole, always been complete, always been home. You just didn't know, but now you know. And knowing this changes everything. It changes how you see yourself. It changes how you see others. It changes how you see the world. Because now you see with the eyes of the kingdom. With the eyes of the kingdom. With the eyes of unity. With the eyes of presence. And this vision is not the privilege of a few. It's not the achievement of saints. It's not the inheritance of the chosen. It's the birthright of every human being. of every conscious being, of all life, because all life is an expression of the divine. All consciousness is a face of the kingdom. Every heart is a living temple. And when you realize this, when you really realize this, the saying of Jesus ceases to be an enigma and becomes obvious, ceases to be distant and becomes intimate, ceases to be ignored and becomes lived. The kingdom of God is within you. This is the most ignored phrase, the most forgotten, the most distorted, but also the most powerful, the most liberating, the most truthful. And now it is yours, not as Pavlov, not as concept, but as experience, as living memory. You don't need to preach this. You don't need to convince anyone. You just need to live this. Life from presence, life from awareness, life from the kingdom that you are. And when you live like that, you become the message. You become the light. You become the living testimony that what Jesus said is true, not because you believe it, but because you are it. Breathe, feel, be. The kingdom is here. The kingdom is now. The kingdom is in you. Always has been. Always will be. You just needed to remember. And now you have remembered. And this remembering, this simple, profound, revolutionary remembering is the awakening, it's the return, it's the enlightenment. Not in the future, not in another place, but here, now, in you, in the beat of your heart, in the depth of your breath, in the stillness of your presence. The kingdom of God is within you. It's not a promise, it's truth. It's not future, it's present. It's not seeking, it's recognition. And you, now, recognize. You, now, you, now, are. If this message found you, it wasn't by chance. It wasn't by chance. It was because something in you was ready to remember, was ready to wake up, was ready to return. And now that you have returned, that you have remembered, that you have realized, share this not with words, but with presence. Share this not by preaching, but by being. Share this by living from the kingdom that you are. And when others see the light in you, they will remember the light in them. Because light recognizes light. The kingdom recognizes the kingdom. And so, without effort, without force, without dogma, the truth spreads. The truth that Jesus tried to teach. The truth that was ignored. The truth that now through you returns to be lived. The kingdom of God is within you. Remember, live, be, birthday. Thul Tulol, adaptation suggestions. Asterisk character names. Jesus is already well known, so no change needed. Asterisk place names. Kingdom is generally fine, although you could also subtly use true nature or inner being at points for emphasis with a more secular audience. Asterisk idioms and the slang. The translation is already relatively neutral, avoiding specific slang. No real adjustments are needed here. Asterisk cultural references. The reference to Jesus is central and accepted. No need to change it as his message, although sometimes misunderstood, is familiar. Asterisk humor and tone. The tone is serious and spiritual. Maintain this. The primary adjustments are subtle ones, focusing on ensuring that the core message resonates across different cultural backgrounds within the English-speaking world. The translation above should serve as a sound base,